everybody, and welcome to another episode of Adventures with Andy. Today, we are going to make sure that no dye gets left behind. Right now on the other side of this table, I'm hand painting some yarn for the August 2021 dye along with Kim Knits. Now I do have a yarn mop that I'm using for that dyeing, but as you can see, it's already got a lot of color on it already. This was a yarn mop in a previous episode too. And it's going to be cleaning up a whole bunch of spills, I'm sure, but I'm going to be pouring 1% dye stock into little bowls like this as I'm hand painting. And I don't want to contaminate my dye stocks by dipping in with a paintbrush, dipping in, painting on the yarn, and then pour it back into my 1% dye stock solution. So what I'm going to do instead is I grabbed 2 skeins of Knit Picks Swish Fingering 100% Fine Superwash Merino yarn, and I soaked it in some vinegar and water. Same thing that I soaked the yarn in for this other dye project. And I am just going to put them in this oversized mason jar, kind of twist things around so that they're not just laying right next to each other. And then as I finish up with the colors for one part of what I'm painting, then I will just take whatever dye is left over from that and pour it in here. When it's all said and done, we will set this and see what we get. It should be pretty interesting. I'm going to be using a lot of different colors for this other project that I'm doing. So we're going to end up with a lot of different colors on this yarn, and I have no idea why I'm about to put this lid back on here, because I would just need to take it back off again. Got my first bit of leftover dye in here. Got some diluted brown. This is darker brown, but it's got xanthan gum. All of these are Wilton Icing Gel colors, except I've got one that is a mix between Wilton No Taste Red and McCormick's Red, because I didn't have enough of the No Taste Red. And this is a mix of black and Wilton's Teal. And finally some Wilton's Black diluted to make it gray. Okay, all right. That's just gonna sit there until I'm ready to put the next in. We got some Kelly green. A little bit more brown. And some royal blue. All right, back in a minute. Gray. Turn this a little bit. This is some burgundy, I believe. And some brown thickened with the xanthan gum. Back to work. All right, this is the last of the leftover dye that we have. This is some very lightened brown. This is, I believe, copper. Let's see. Yes, this is copper with a little bit of burgundy mixed into it to make an approximation of a bronze color. And I'm actually going to try to tip this, try to tip this way. Yeah, to get that area over there that I haven't really gotten anything on in all of this. This is some of that burgundy. that I mixed with that copper. Some golden yellow. Ooh, check that out, spreading down in there. That's pretty satisfying. And I think the last thing that I have is a whole bunch of teal mixed with some water that I mixed up for this last project, and I did not use very much of it at all. I used a little, not very much. So it's just getting poured right in there. And the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add some vinegar. 1, 2, 3. That should be a good start. This is some of the vinegar water that I soaked this in originally. And just pour that in there. That'll raise our dye bath level a little bit, but it'll also help that vinegar I just added in there. Work down through everything. Put the lid on this, and I'm gonna let this sit at least overnight, see if it can exhaust its dye bath before I put it in the crock pot and set it. Oh, we still have a section that's got some white in it. That could be exciting. Because depending on how this works, we could end up with sections that take no dye at all. Who knows? All right, so it's been a few days now, and our dye bath looks like it's at least mostly exhausted. So we can go ahead and see about setting this yarn. And for that, we're going to use the crock pot. Ooh, got some pretty yarn. Bet you weren't expecting that white, were you? But that's from us twisting it around. And I'm going to top this off with this right here. Put the lid on. Turn the crock pot on to high and just let this come up to heat. Sit for about 15-20 minutes. Then let it cool down overnight. Wash it, nib a swatch, show you what we got. And here's our finished yarn. These turned out really pretty, didn't they? We got quite a bit of white space on each of them, about half the skein. But then the other half, we got lots of color, lots of great color mixing too. Some purple, pinks, and blues, lots of greens. We've got, this is possibly the copper, or maybe up here, breaking and mixing all over, and it just all mixes together, just so gorgeous. Same over here, about half of it's still white. I mean, we still got color throughout, even on the white half. And then we've got this other half where the colors just mixed all on top of each other. And it's like going from brown and sort of a reddish brown and breaking out into blue and all of these other colors. And it's got kind of a really mermaid vibe, doesn't it? I think so, at least. And then here are our swatches. This is the swatch for this skein, and this is the swatch for this skein. And you can see that even though the two skeins are very similar and they were dyed in the same pot together, there are still some variations. This one, we've got these long single row stripes going across here in what I like to think of as sort of aquarium stick-on thermometer colors, where you can read the colors of the temperature in an aquarium by the way that, I guess it'd be thermochromic fluid. I don't know, that kind of a thermometer. I've mentioned it before. I still haven't looked up to see exactly what it is, but that's what it always makes me think of. And for some reason, this one always also makes me think of tourmaline, the stone tourmaline. I don't know why, it just really does. And then over here on this one, this just fascinates me. These are both 30 by 30 swatches, both knitted using the same knitting needles. And on this one, it's all kind of mixed and intermingled through. But on this one, we've got the pinks in a row here, the blues in a row here, the greens in a row here, and then the grays in a row here, and then across all the stripes. And I just think that's really cool. It probably would not work out like that depending on the project that you knitted it in or the gauge that you knitted it in. It's just one of those happenstances of how it turned out on the swatch. But I still find it fascinating that these are both, the exact same base of yarn, dyed at the same time, and they look in skein form very similar, obviously not the same, knitted up on the same needles, same gauge, 30 by 30, and they look that much different. And then here is our yarn mop that has been serving us quite well for quite a long time. It was already green with some red when we started dyeing the book with it, and now it's got all of this color on it from that and from our Leave No Dye Behind. And this has turned from looking like a green skein with some accidental red splotches getting spilled on it to looking like a much more intentional skein of yarn. I think it looks very much like a very gardeny type skein, especially when you knit it up and you've got this green background with these little pops of red and yellow, like little wildflowers in a field, or a flower bed with lots of flowers in it. Kind of like what we've got in our front yard right now, where we just planted a bunch of petunias and pansies and just lots of bright pops of color. You have done an excellent job as a yarn mop. You have served your time well, and I think it is time to promote you from yarn mop to officially fully dyed skein of yarn ready to become a knitted project. Yay! Woo! Yay, yarn mop! Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this bonus Leave No Dye Behind episode using all of the extra dye that we had from dyeing our knitted book in the August 2021 Dye Along with Kim Knits. I think we ended up with some great skeins of yarn, and our yarn mop has turned into just a fantastic skein. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that like button. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Which of these skeins is your favorite? Would you like to see me do this with some other colors sometime? Just essentially a dump jar type dyeing, or over dyeing and over dyeing like we did with this yarn mop. I'm always interested to hear what ideas you have, and likes and comments definitely do help the channel to grow. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications, especially since we are going to be heading into the 2021 Adventures with Andy Halloween Mega Venture, and you do not want to miss that. It is an entire week of Halloween themed adventures. So like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you on our next adventure. Bye!